when you think about haters, right? When you think about jealousy, Nipsey Hussle at this point is known all over the world, right? So he's reached legendary status at this point. But him and Holder, they're from the same hood. They're from the same set. And somehow Nipsey again is famous. He's got this strip mall. He's got his own businesses. He's got people lining up to sign autographs, to take pictures with them, to have a word with him because he's this beloved figure in the community. And Shitty comes up and is like, "Yo, have you heard my music?" And they're like, "Nah, we haven't heard it." So when we're trying to figure out motive, like why did this happen? That's an interesting thing. Was that possibly something that set him over the edge, where somebody just cannot stand to see another brother successful and decide to take his life? It's just something interesting to think about and keep in the back of our mind. And realistically, we may not get the answer to that. Some folks may know, but we may not necessarily get the answer from that because, Holder may or may not take the stand. I don't think there's been any indication as to whether he's going to take the stand. And he doesn't have to make that decision. Really, he doesn't have to make that decision until it's the defense attorneys, or it's the defense's opportunity to present their evidence. And then at that point, they will have to decide whether Holder ends up taking the stand or not. But I think that's a big point that ultimately we have to look at. Because as we sit here and try and put the pieces together regarding this senseless tragedy, and we're looking at a conversation that between everybody who was standing there basically said it wasn't anything crazy. It didn't, people weren't yelling. People weren't, just, getting crazy. It was just a matter of fact conversation, but then that leads to this. So again, and the interesting thing is, what Douglas testifies to is he says, listen, when he started mentioning the songs that he was recording, he says, I looked at him and he just looked kind of weird. He's like, I didn't know, maybe he was high, he might've been high or whatever it may be. And so then that ends up becoming another factor, another layer to this. So was he, being high, maybe he misinterpreted this situation. Maybe he went a little further than obviously, in terms of deciding to shoot somebody, but just in his mind, the conversation that Nipsey was having with him in terms of this allegation or this accusation or these rumors going around about him snitching. And then on top of that, being slighted, right? Being slighted, he's standing here and seeing everything that's surrounding Nipsey. And then, kind of asking, yo, you hear my music? And they're like, nah, we didn't hear it. That just might have been enough to set him over the top while being high and being like, okay, well, interpreting that as disrespect. And we all know what can happen when people feel disrespected. When people feel disrespected, they can start fights. They can, pull out a knife, pull out a gun. And apparently that's what ultimately led to this.